Hi everyone, it's Denise Brown from caregiving.com. We are doing 15-minute check-ins, and I'm delighted to welcome one of our certified caregiving consultants, Deb Hallisey. She lives in New Jersey and cares for her mom, and she has her own business, and her website is advocateformomanddad.com. So welcome, Deb. Thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, Denise, thank you for asking me. It's good to see you. It's good to see another live human being and be able to interact over Zoom. This is great.
So you're in New Jersey, which means you're kind of in the hotbed of crises,
Yeah.
which means that worries are more intense. So tell us about how you're doing and how your mom is doing. And she actually lives closer because she's in northern Jersey, which is closer to New York City.
Yeah, no, yes. Yes, I'm in New Jersey, in central New Jersey. She's up towards north, but we're very close to New York City. And so the news coming out of New York is just devastating. It really, really is on so many levels. And New Jersey is really starting to pick up as well in terms of cases and in terms of death. So one of the ways, just from a sanity perspective, Mom and I are dealing with this is we have a deal that she doesn't listen to the news during the day because that will stress her out too much. We happen to have an Alexa, so she wants to know the weather. She'll ask that. Normally she turns it on for the weather. So she really only turns it on at 11 o'clock at night and listens and gets the synthesis of it. And so then it's easier for her to let it go. I, on the other hand, am very deliberate about tuning in at 2, which is when Governor Murphy has his update. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with how he's handling it and his staff. And just the way he speaks gives me a level of comfort. It's not, there are other governors who are so frantic, they make me frantic. So I'm limiting what I listen to be honest with you. So I've kind of said, okay, I need to know what's happening in my community and my state, and my trusted resource is Governor Murphy. So I'm going to tune into him at 2. If I miss it, I go onto the New Jersey site, which has got updates every day. My other trusted source is Dr. Fauci. And if I catch him on the news, I will listen, but I don't typically listen to briefings that he's in. There's too many other people and too much stuff going on. And so I'll go out to YouTube and I will search for Dr. Fauci, and there's always new stuff every day. So those are kind of my 2 trusted resources. I pretty much avoid this on social media because there's a lot of misinformation. And I really try, I can get sucked into just Facebook and like not thinking about it. So I really say, okay, I'm going to limit the amount of time, and if I'm going to go out and look at something fun, I'm only going to do it after I've completed a task. Because it's way too easy when I'm scared to want to and overwhelmed to want to just not even think about things and be proactive. So I try and guard against that.
You have a tag team system, so to speak, set up for your mom's care. So you have a caregiver who's with her, and then when the caregiver goes home, you then go and stay with your mom for a period of time.
Yeah.
And so many families are struggling with the question of, should we keep in-home care? Are we increasing the risk of infection by having people come into the house? How did you come to the decision to keep the help?
Well, it's a little different for us because she's not coming and going. She stays with me, Mom. She's live-in care. And she doesn't drive, so it's not as if she's going to go out to places. But more importantly, she's been our caregiver for 2 years, more than 2 years, and I know her. I think I'm crazy about sanitizing things and keep it safe. She's like that to the nth degree. So she and I have had very open conversations. When this first happened, I called and I'm like, so I'm supposed to come up later in the week and stay with Mom for 4 days while you go home. Do you want me to? Are you comfortable with me coming in the house? And then what are you doing for protections? And she said, well, yes, I'm comfortable with you coming in. I know you, and I know you're going to be careful with your mom. And I don't need to leave my house for like a month. Like she's done that kind of shopping and stuff. So she and I had a very open conversation about what expectations were on her part and my part. As I have learned things, I've shared them with her. Like I came across a wonderful video by Dr. Jeffrey Van Garten. It's in this week's blog post that shows you sterile techniques for when you bring something in the house, whether it's groceries or food. And so, what we've instituted and what the caregiver agrees to, we've done online shopping and then I go to pick it up. And we've also had friends who are out in the grocery store bring stuff in. So everything goes into my mom's garage and it gets taken out of the bags and left in there for 2 to 3 days because the virus doesn't live any longer than that pretty much on anything. Once we feel like that's secure, that comes in the house and it gets put away. But things like meat and produce and stuff, there's ways like you create a sterile space and then you bring stuff in and put it on the non-sterile space, and then you clean it off and put it on the sterile space, and then you put it away. So there's this whole procedure. She's absolutely on board with doing that. So I have a level of comfort. I have talked to clients, though, who are really nervous because their caregivers come and go, and they don't know who they're seeing when they don't. And and that's really hard. And my advice to them is, well, how well, first of all, if you're lucky enough that you have a consistent caregiver, hopefully there's a relationship there that you can trust one another, know what's going on. You can have open and honest conversations. And maybe you start to limit the kinds of things you do. Maybe they were doing meal prep and now you prep the meals instead, and it's just a heat up kind of thing. So I would look at task by task, what are you asking them to do? And then maybe renegotiating or changing the steps in which you do them. I mean, one of the things for everybody who has a caregiver is because of licensing, they have to have the gloves, right? Well, we're in competition with everybody else to get the gloves. So I'm constantly looking for them. And if I can get exam gloves when she needs to do personal things for mom from someplace, I'm going to do that. But guess what? Beauty supply stores also have gloves. And if it's something that I want her to wear gloves, but it's not a medical or touching kind of thing, like taking her shoes off and on, then I'm going to get them from the beauty supply store and say, you use these for these purposes and you use these for these purposes. So I think managing that person coming into your house becomes even more of a critical key, and communication becomes even more of a critical key. And my mom's still got all her faculties, so I can ask her things and she'll tell me, well, she didn't do this. And I can go back and say, Donna, don't forget, I need you to do this. It's, so if there's a relationship there, if it's the same person all the time. And my mom also is not, she's got blood pressure issues and she has diabetes issues, both of which she manages well, but she's not COPD. She's not congestive heart failure. I would probably be making very different decisions if she had an illness that made her even more at risk.
Yeah, I think about that risk and how do we minimize it, but we have to look at what if. So how have you and your mom talked through the what ifs? She gets sick, what if you get sick?
Well, that's a conversation she doesn't like having, right, at all. And so we haven't had the full conversation. We've talked about the what if and what would we do. My mom, and you know this from me, I talk about like the drip method. Like my mom is not a one and done conversation. You have to say something to her and then let her think about it for a while and then come back to it at a different time in a different way. So one of the ways I alleviate her fears is telling her what I'm doing in terms of when I'm home, keeping myself safe, and what she's doing while she's there. A couple of months ago, I asked her doctor to have the conversation, that conversation of your life, like what if you got really ill, what would you want done and not done? And so we did that and he gave us paperwork. We still haven't signed it. That's still an ongoing conversation. And that's my biggest fear. I have a plan. A is Donna, plan B is me, plan C is, dear God, what am I going to do? I do know if Donna got ill, I would ask her to leave. I wouldn't want her to be responsible, nor would my mom want her there. She would be nervous about that. If I got ill and I still needed to take care of her, that means ramping up all kinds of things in terms of, you know, what I'm wearing, from a mask to gloves to everything else. I think our biggest difficulty is with one bathroom, right? So I can't even quarantine that. So having stuff on hand to disinfect that, and having stuff on hand to, you know, I'm assuming I'm not that ill that I'm bedridden. It's a different story if I am. At that point, we are very lucky in that, well, first of all, I would go back to the agency in hopes that they could have somebody who they could bring in, even in a part-time basis. That's really my plan C. And I've talked to them about that. They don't have a lot of bandwidth, but we've been with them long enough that I know that they will try and work with us. You know, the kind of thing is, look, like, I know you have nobody who's a live-in, but I need somebody at least these many times, right? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is me continuing to try and care for her as much as I could, depending on how ill I was. We're also very fortunate that we live by family and friends. And so I know if I really had to, and it would make my mother very nervous, but I could call my cousin and say, I really need you to come in and do these things in terms of washing up, but I need your help just to do these things. And not everybody has that. You know, I know how fortunate we are. So we've got this support network set up. Right now, if they go shopping, they call and ask what we need, right? But if it push came to shove with health and I had to call on somebody, I know that there are people I could call on, and they would have the right to say no, and I'm not going to hold that against them.
Yes, and that's such a good point. If they are not comfortable, they are not the right ones for this particular situation, and that's okay.
Yeah,
That's
it
true.
really is.
One of the things that we've been doing on social media is sharing what I call caring tips. So we've been really tapping into our knowledge base as individuals who have been caring for family members for a long time, and really sharing what we know about a theme every day. So for instance, staying organized, managing uncertainty, keeping supplies on hand. And you were kind enough to organize that into a blog post. So tell us about that blog post and how our viewers can access it.
Sure. So the blog post is really based on kind of what I kind of learned with mom. And I talk about a lot of the things we've talked about now, like how to keep yourself sane. So it's like I said, it's kind of limiting the news kind of things. And it's also, you know, reaching out to friends, and then how to keep yourself healthy. It's the idea of thinking out of the box about some of the places you can get materials. Like, I don't know about Chicago, but there is not a piece of toilet paper to be had in any grocery store for anywhere in New Jersey. Office supply stores, Home Depots, Lowe's, janitorial supplies, all those guys sell that stuff, and they still do have it online. Like, we order toilet paper, and it's the kind of rolls you'd find in a bathroom, in a public bathroom. Who cares? It's toilet paper, right? Like, it doesn't need to sit in that little holder, okay? So thinking out of the box about where you can get stuff, I think, is part of it. The other thing I will say is, you know, doing the online ordering is very stressful because most of these places are like, there's no slots for a while. So one of the things I said was, create your order on several grocery online store things. Some have days out a week, some have days out, like Walmart's only 2 days out. They open up news time slots in the morning. Have that list ready. Jump on it first thing in the morning and just go from site to site to site to see if you can find a time slot. When they call or email you to tell you, okay, they didn't have chicken or coffee, those pickers only go once a day. So if it's something you really need, consider suited up with gloves or masks, whatever you feel is appropriate. Just run in for that one thing, because it might have been restocked, and then you can take it to the checkout for the online folks, and they'll actually add it to your order right there. Right, so there's that kind of stuff in there, including a great video on how to wash your hands. Like, I was simply not doing it right. I really wasn't. And now I understand how to do it. And we've put in those sterile technique kind of things. So can I give you one more?
Yes.
Okay. If you're gonna cut your bangs, cut a little bit and put the scissors down and walk away. Because if you keep going at it, it's going to be a disaster. Come back to it later and come back to it the next day. But don't keep going after your bangs. Walk away.
That's an excellent tip. And I was just talking to a colleague before we started today and said, what are we going to do about our hair? Which really is an insignificant problem. I mean,
I know.
but sometimes vanity does rear its ugly head.
Yeah,
Okay, so
well,
Deb, tell us what your website address is so people can really take advantage of these great tips.
sure. So it's www.advocateformomandDad, all the words spelled out, advocateformomanddad.com. And this week is about tips on staying safe and sane. And last week had lots of suggestions for how to avoid social people feeling isolated by using online resources. I will tell you, even though my mom's eyesight is so bad, we have done 2 Zoom sessions, one with very close friends and one with my brother and another friend. And even though she couldn't see them, just hearing their voices and knowing they were there gave her a level of comfort that I was really, really happy for.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Deb is also one of our certified caregiving consultants, so you can reach out to her, schedule a complimentary session to learn how she can help you adjust, strategize, and make the right decision for your situation. Thanks, Deb. Always great to see you.
Yes, thanks, Denise. Take care.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. I'm Denise Brown. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.